Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So the fusion is finally live after we had some technical issues with the new update. So Hellhades would normally give you a bit of a brief guide, tell you about the fusion guide on the website. He's actually playing netball or watching netball somewhere, so he's out of action today. So he's asked me to jump in and give you all the latest information and let you know what this fusion calendar looks like. So if you're not aware, this is a hybrid fusion model. So the way it works, you need to get 4 epics. You still need to do what you would normally do in a traditional fusion here. You take those epics, you upgrade them to rank 5, you fully ascend them, and you fully level them. The thing to note, there is 3 spirit champions here again. The last fusion was 3 spirit champions, so spirit clearly is in the mind of everyone over in Plarium. So you're going to need to plan ahead and make sure you do enough spirit keep to get your potions here. The last thing you want to do is get the final fragment if you are going for this legendary and you've run out of pots. You're not going to have an awful lot of time. You're going to have to wait all the way to the end of the event before you can actually fuse him, because you'll need the final fragments. So you might only have a couple of days. You might not get back around to that reset for the spirit keep. So plan ahead. We will have a fusion guide out, which I'm going to show you in a second, that will give you the calculated number of pots that you require to achieve this. Once you've got them to rank 5 fully ascended and fully leveled, you can then fuse them to make the legendary Lonatharil. Now, I've given my thoughts on it. Hellhades did a video yesterday. We all seem to pretty much think and say, unless you really, really need a Scarab King boss killer or a champion for that, he's a bit of a skip in my opinion. I've looked at the fusion calendar now as well, and I'm going to cover that in a second, and I think it even reinforces why you would skip it, because the actual scheduling is horrific, and I think to some extent someone needs to be held accountable in Plarium for how terrible this model really is. So to get the epics, what you're going to need to do is do the events as you would normally do in a fragment collector or a traditional fusion. Now with a fragment collector, normally you need 100 fragments. They give you about 15 or so from tournament wins if you win the tournament. You can't really rely on those, but you could get lucky. And then you can normally spare yourself either a couple of tournaments or maybe one of the milestones in the fragment summon, because you have 15 to spare. That's not going to be the case here. So you can see if you go to the fragment summon now, we've got the 4 epics in here. I haven't earned any fragments yet because the events have just started. So that's how you do it. You earn the fragments from doing the events. You then make the epic champions through a fragment summon, and then you need to go through the process of ascending, ranking them up, leveling them up. Then you can make your legendary champion. It is the worst of both systems in my opinion. You have all of the grind that you still need to commit and all the resources, 16 4-star chickens, and you still have to do pretty much all of the events as well, because you can't really get the same flexibility. At least with just a standard fragment collector, you can skip things. You can choose what you want to skip in advance. So that is live now for 2 weeks, 3 days, 8 hours. So you can come to hellhades.com here. By the time this video goes live, probably will have changed this referral system thing to the actual fusion guide. But if not, you can come down here. One of the featured articles is our fusion guide. Click on this, and it will give you the day-by-day breakdown. It tells you everything you need to know about the champion, gives you information about the epics you need. We've also got a calculation here of the potions you need to get. So you're going to need to get 60 greater spirit and 18 superior spirit. So make sure you plan ahead. Pick the day you're going to do that with the spirit keep open, and just get those pots done. If you do 20, you can do it pretty quickly. If you're doing it a little bit lower and you can't hit 20 yet, plan ahead. Make sure you've got it if you're going for this. In addition, we are expecting some super raids, as they have been doing for most of the fusions this year. Super raids will allow you to run the dungeon once but get twice the amount of rewards, so you should be able to do that tournament twice as fast. On Thursday, which is today, we're planning to enable super raids for the Spider's Den. Monday the 8th, it'll be super raids for Dragon. Friday the 12th will be super raids for Ice Golem, and Tuesday, August 16th, it'll be super raids for Fire Knights. In addition, there will be shard summoning, as you would expect. We've only had the announcement for this weekend, and it is a 2x sacred, and we've got a 10x Shemnath, which I actually didn't even realize. So Shemnath is on my list. Not that 10 times really makes a difference, but hey, I've got about 6 or 7 sacreds left over that I've got lucky from picking up from Clan Boss and the Hero's Path. Maybe we'll get some luck there. We don't know what the times 10 will be on the 12th of August. It doesn't really matter, because you're going to have to pull shards if you're going for this event. We will get this calendar done now. We've had the calendar late from Plarium, so we're just going through and building that. And you'll have a day-by-day tracker, which will basically tell you what you need to do each day. So, pin this, keep this, do what you want to with it. This is a good guide to come to. So finally, let's take a look at this Fusion event calendar. It's a little bit more complicated than normal. They do a pretty good job of making a visual representation of what you need to do here, but this is a little bit more clunky. So as I mentioned, you're going to get the epics by doing the events. Those are going to give you fragments. They've put a little chart of each champion. So it looks like every champion is going to have 130 fragments available from either a combination of tournaments, events, or tournament leaderboards. I'm actually going to ignore the tournament leaderboards because I don't think anyone can reliably say they're going to get them unless you've got lots and lots of resources available or you get lucky with a good group. So effectively, we need to think, okay, well, you've got 115 fragments available for each epic. Okay, so you think that's good. I got 15 fragments. I can skip some. Well, in a normal, traditional single champion fragment, tournaments might be only 5 fragments. You might only have 5 fragments of an artifact enhancement. Sometimes it's 10. Maybe the summon rush is split with 5 and 15 instead of just 20. Because you've got 4 epics here, you're getting the fragments in a bigger bulk, which means you have less flexibility. And I actually think, I'm going to say this right now, this schedule will put every single player off unless they really, really want to collect this champion, because it is an awful way to build this event, essentially. And you can't skip anything. So let me explain why. Because we know you need 115 fragments, the most you can lose is 15 fragments. So when we look at the calendar here, we go, okay, anything that says 20, I cannot skip. If I skip a 20, I miss out on the legendary because I can't get to the necessary number of fragments for one epic, which means all the other epics are then locked in place, but I need all 4 epics to make the legendary. So if anything says more than 20, more than 15, you need to do this event. So that basically means you're doing Spider, Dragon, Ice Golem, and Fire Knight. You're doing all 4 tournaments. You are also going to have to do both milestones of both summon events, because you cannot skip the Carlinia or Wuji. You cannot skip the Carlinia or Wuji down here. Both of those 2 epics are going to come from summons. So you're going to have to go to the second milestones on both of those. That is a big shard investment. Normally, on a fragment collection, you can do either 2 milestones in the summon rush and then skip the final milestone on the champion chase, or vice versa. You don't always have to do both. This one you're going to have to do both, but it does get worse. You would think, okay, well, there's 15 on the classic arena. Well, the problem with that is you don't skip classic arena. It's so easy to do the classic arena takedown, it's barely worth even considering. It just happens. So the fact you've put 15 on here means you're not really giving players a choice, because yeah, they can skip the classic arena takedown, but why would they? It's so comfortably easy to do. Even if you're lower ranked than say gold 4, gold 5, I've never heard of anyone saying, oh, that arena tournament was really difficult, I really had to grind for it. So these are going to happen by default. So now we start looking at, okay, well, where's the other 15s? Well, this champion training tournament at 20, so you're going to have to do all of that champion training tournament, and then you're going to have to do at least the 2 milestones on the champion training event. And that's quite a long event, so they could be quite high point requirements. That is a 5-day champion training event. It's a bit longer than normal. So you could maybe skip the Wuji at the end here, but if you do, you're going to have to do all the dungeon divers. But Wuji is the only one here that you can skip the last milestone, either of the dungeon divers event 2 or the champion training event 2. You can't even skip the Dungeon Divers 1 or Dungeon Divers 3, because they've put the Yelagina fragments, 20 of them, as the second reward. So you're going to have to do both end rewards, otherwise you're not going to get Yelagina. So even though you might not need the Carlinia fragments from the first part of this Dungeon Divers event 3, you're going to get them anyway, because that's on the way to getting Yelagina. So what this means, you are doing both milestones of both summons, every single tournament. You're doing probably the entirety of the first champion training tournament, the majority probably, if not all, of the champion training event, all of Dungeon Divers 1 and Dungeon Divers 3, and probably, if you didn't do the training event, Dungeon Divers 2. You're doing all 3 artifact enhancement events, and you can't skip them if you want this legendary. Now, if all you're interested in is one of the epics, then you just pick the events you need to do that epic and you do it. It's not so bad then. But that's a hell of a lot of investment and time for an average champion. At least when we had this with Brogni. Brogni is the other one you can relate to, where it was a very similar thing. Everyone felt the pain of that fusion event. It was difficult. Brogni was an OP champion, so at least you were rewarded with a champion that was unique, was powerful, could do so many things, and you kind of could feel almost like, oh, well, at least I got that. any sensible player, especially a free-to-play player, and I don't like saying this because I always encourage people to participate. If you're a free-to-play player, this is so much resource intensive for an average champion for you to get. I think it's such a big mistake what they've done here. This champion needs to be one of the best champions in the game if you're going to do this. It cannot be so difficult to get a champion which is, if I'm being honest, no better than a metal shaper for the shielding job if you put enough turn meter into it, and the third best ally attacker in the game just because he does it. And it's not even the third best ally attacker in arena. He's just the third best ally attacker because he uses all allies. I'd put Kreeler above him. I'd put Lanicus above him. These champions, those ally attackers are better. They just don't do all 5 allies. Even Farragon the Fat goes above him. I don't know, guys. I think this is a bit of a major blunder by Plarium. I don't really know what they're thinking by doing this, especially after we've had quite a busy couple of weeks in terms of resource usage. You know, the Heroes Path was a bit more intensive, but it was well worth it at least. And they've been pumping events and summon rushes and all sorts at us. I think this is just a step too far. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you still going to go for this champion? If so, let me know why. I will, of course, be back later this week with some more videos, especially on the patch notes breakdown. Hellhades will be back tomorrow. He's probably going to do a response to this as well. With that said, I'll catch you in the next video.